So my husband and I sometimes when we get a spare moment or two, we like to take our bikes and go riding through the hills and the woods and things like that. And when you're going up that big long hill, it's literally one pedal push at a time. And that's going to get you up that hill. So you just really need to focus on breaking down those steps, know that you're going in the right direction, that you're going up that hill, knowing that what do I need to get done today? And then you're not going to get so overwhelmed.
Running a retail business doesn't have to be so hard. Welcome to the Creative Shop Talk podcast, the go-to podcast for creative shop owners, studio owners, and independent retailers. I'm your host, Wendy Batten, retail business coach and mentor. Each week, I'll share simple, proven business strategies, inspiring stories from fellow retailers, and advice from industry experts. Together, we're going to work to find the success you want from your retail business with more profits in your till and a little more joy in your life. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to the Creative Shop Talk podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Batten, and today is episode number 78. I can't even believe we're at 78. So thank you for being here. I appreciate the time and the attention that you put into joining us here each week on the podcast. Before we get started today, I did want to let you know, if you're listening to this as it's released in October of 2021. Are we still in 21? October 2021. I am running a free 3-day challenge that I'd love to invite you to. It starts today, October 4th, but it'll be in replay for about a week. And I just want to invite you. It's called the Holiday Profits Challenge. We did this last year. We had over 500 retailers. It blew my mind. 500 retailers join us. And again, it's a free challenge. The information is on my website at wendybatten.com. And we're going to spend 3 days, 15 minutes a day. 15 minutes a day. You've got that time. I know you're busy. And we're going to be giving you quick tips on how to increase the profits with things that you're already doing in your business. We don't need to add more. So I want to invite you to that 3-day holiday profits challenge. And I would, again, and it's in October 2021. If you're re-listening to us on future years, hello there. Hope everything's awesome. But if you're listening to us live in October, and as we're releasing this podcast, I would love to see you there. Again, it's free and it's my way of giving back. I love helping retailers through the holiday season. Okay. Let's get to today's episode. I always get excited when I introduce you to new retailers. I'm going to be chatting today, or I did chat today, with Amy Hart from the Hare and the Heart. Amy is a member of my mastermind, Level Up Mastermind group, and my Retailers Inner Circle. She's also taken my Retail Made Simple course, and she makes reference to that in the podcast. And that is a course that I launch twice a year. The next opening will be in January, and it's a foundational business course. And if you're interested in jumping on the wait list so you'll know about that, we'll have all the information in the show notes. And again, you can find that on my website at wendybatten.com. But today, she speaks a lot about so many struggles that I think a lot of retailers have, and I see daily in my one-to-one clients, and again in my mastermind groups and the Retail Inner Circle. We have, as shop owners, as business owners in general, sometimes we have this control and we know we're doing a lot of the right things. And Amy was doing so many things right in her beautiful store. She'd built a gorgeous business, connections network, brand vision. She had so many amazing things happening. The funny part is she shares a story about this. She also had, she has great support, and there's lots of things, a lot of fun things that were positive things that were happening, but there was something missing to grow her business, to level up her business, to understand what strategic planning was and understanding how to see the big picture of her dream, vision. So it was a pleasure to chat with Amy today, and so she could share her story, because I know a lot of us struggle with that. A lot of retailers that I work with struggle with that. One of them was letting go and delegating and trusting other people, and it's hard to do that. And I know that from experience, and I know that from working with so many retailers. And she's going to share what the shift was for her and what difference that made and how she did that. It's been really amazing, again, watching Amy thrive again through my mastermind group and inside the Retailers Inner Circle. And, it was such a pleasure. And I asked her to join us. She was a little reluctant and shy, so she shares that as well, too. But really stepping in to the skills gaps and identifying the skills gaps and the things that you need and finding the right way to move forward. And through that is what Amy's going to share with you today. And it's really been amazing watching her step into that role, take it, like she's doing strategic planning now and working on future planning and understanding our numbers and all of the things that are probably not as much fun. You guys hear me talk about that a lot, but all of that comes back to marketing and self-confidence, and everything all together makes for a good CEO, and she is exemplifying this 1,000-fold and thriving in her business. So without further ado, let's get to our interview with Amy Hart from the Hare and the Heart. And I know you're going to take some big nuggets away from this. I am so excited to introduce to you an amazing fellow retailer, shop owner extraordinaire, and a designer. I think there's so many titles that we could give. Amy Hart from the Hare and the Heart is here with us today. Hi, Amy. Welcome to the Creative Shop Talk podcast.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I am so thrilled that you took time. We have been trying to connect. So funny. Amy has a very busy retail business, so I appreciate you taking the time. I always want to honor that. So thank you for being here. I know that my listeners are going to be so excited to listen to you and how things have changed for your business in the last couple of years. And we're always growing and we're always learning. This is, as we do in the podcast here, we're always sharing different ways. So before we get going, I know sometimes on the podcast, and I'm going to bring this back because you asked about it, and I love this part. Tell us something before we get going that maybe nobody knows about you, or that would be surprising to us.
Okay. So I was telling Wendy before we started that I recently learned something about myself. So I know no one else knows it about me. So a lot of people do know that I'm an Anglophile and I love all things English, and that we travel to England and we carry things in our shop from England and things like that. Even my whole life growing up, I thought, I think I was supposed to have been born in England. I read the Chronicles of Narnia and Black Beauty, and I always just envisioned myself in the English countryside. And I am 51 years old. I'm not afraid to say it. I learned about 2 months ago that I was supposed to have been born in England.
What?
Yes.
What do you mean supposed to have been born? That's a weird thing, but yeah.
It is. Yeah. So my father was in the Air Force. He was a fighter pilot in the Air Force. So we moved every couple of years. And so while my mother was pregnant with me, their next assignment was supposed to be in England. And he got another assignment. Like, she was all packed up and ready to go to England. And then he called her and said, no, we're moving to New Mexico.
Wow.
And I was born in New Mexico, which is a beautiful state. And, but I found that out recently that I was supposed to have been born in England.
So that's kind of freaky, because I know that is very close to your heart. I mean,
yeah,
it is very close to your heart. We talk about it and we see it in your work, and super cool. Well, that's really cool. So I have a funny story on that. Just, this is, fun stories or whatever. My whole family is from Scotland, or my grandmother's from Scotland, and my whole family in 97, the year that Diana died, and that's a whole other story, and we could do a whole podcast on being there during Diana's death. But anyway, her funeral. I was in Scotland, and I am not really big into past lives and stuff. But when we were in the Highlands in a certain part of Scotland, I love Scotland. I love all things Scottish, but you put that up to like my grandmother's from Scotland. But
Right.
I can't explain it other than saying that I was moved to my core, that I had been there before and I was transported back. And I know I don't have even watched Outlander. I know everybody talks about
I was
that, but
going to say.
I know everybody talks about it. I have not watched it. I'm like the only human being that hasn't watched it, I think, especially since I love Scotland. Literally
Mhm.
moved to I've seen the first few episodes, literally moved to my core that I had been in that space before. So it's so weird.
You're giving me chills. You
It
just
what?
gave me
No, I
chills.
can't even. I
Yeah.
bawled and cried and cried, and that's not like I like the whole sort of. We were there for about 10 days, but one area specifically that I can't even tell you. Like right now, I think about it, and I lived there. I had been there. This is like now people are like
Wow.
tuning out because Wendy's all weird, but yeah. But yeah, so I understand. So links and that stuff, it's cool. That's really interesting. Well, thanks for
Mhm.
sharing that. That is really cool.
Yeah.
I do know you are such a big, and let's talk about that. Tell me a
Yes.
little bit about your business. Tell our audience. I
Okay.
know about your business journey.
Yeah.
Amy is in my Level Up Mastermind group and has taken some courses with
Mhm.
me. My Retail Made Simple, and we can talk a little bit about that. Maybe how some of the fun
Yes.
things that happen through that. I don't know. It's so
Yes.
you're
We
so
have a lot of
amazing.
stories.
Yeah. So, but tell us a little bit about your business journey. What brought you to become a retailer, a shop owner?
Okay.
How did you get where you are? And I'd love you to share a little bit about your store name. If you know, I always love knowing how store
Yes.
names.
So
So,
that
yeah.
actually kind of ties in with what we were
Yeah.
just talking about. The name of the store is the Hare and the Heart. And I always say it's the hare, like a rabbit, and the heart, like a deer. Heart means deer in Old English. It actually means male deer over 5 years old in Old
No,
English.
no idea
Yeah.
about that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's our last name. So it's the Hare and the Heart, not the Hare and the Heart. And so our last name is Hart. I used to be an elementary school teacher, and the kids always did love it when, they always drew little hearts and things when they had Mrs. Hart as their teacher. And we always got heart-shaped gifts at Christmas and things like that. It was very sweet. So when I was thinking of the name of our shop, I really wanted to include our last name in it, but I also wanted to evoke that it is the animal, the hart, the deer, the stag. And when you go to England, I've looked it up. The fifth most popular pub name in England is the White Hart. And so you always see a picture of a heart on that pub sign. And so we were literally standing in front of a pub in England, in London, called the Jugged Hare, when it hit me. I said, I've got it. You know how pubs have like the Fox and the Hounds or something like that. I'm like, it's the Hare and the Heart. And we actually debated, is it the Heart and the Hare or the Hare and the Heart? We decided Heart last because it's our last name. It'll help people remember it. And so that's where the name of our shop comes from, is just kind of evoking that English pub type name. But yeah, so, and honestly, the idea for our entire business was fermenting during that same trip to England in 2016. As I said, I'm a former elementary school teacher. I'd taken some time off from teaching. I have a very dear friend who had a store in Tallahassee, Florida, where I was living for many, many years at the time. And she invited me to start teaching classes in her studio at her. She knew I was a painter and she knew I was a teacher. So I started teaching classes involving paint in her studio. We developed this line of paint by number products that we were selling to other stores like her all over the country. We'd started a company together. And she kept encouraging me, saying, you really should start your own company. You really should start your own company. And sometimes it takes you getting away from your everyday life to really think about something. So it was literally while we're traipsing through the Cotswolds and while we're, walking the streets of London, that the idea for the business actually came to fruition. We were in a restaurant in London called the North Bank Restaurant, and there was a toile pattern for London on the wallpaper and on the menu. And I had already had the idea of fermenting in the back of my mind many, many, many years, but never knew how quite to do it. I was busy teaching and raising kids for many years. And at this point, I was ready. The timing was right. And I thought, Tallahassee needs a toile. So when we got back from that trip, I just started drawing, and technology had evolved enough to where I could, put it into a pattern, get it printed on fabric, start getting prototypes made and things like that. And went and showed the fabric to my friend that had encouraged me to start the business. And she actually runs a market. It's called the French Country Flea Market. And 7,000 people come to this market. And I had a booth at her market that fall. That spring of 2017. And she even invited me to go on the local TV station that morning as the vendor. She could choose one vendor to go on with her. She had 200 vendors, and she so sweetly asked me to be the vendor to go on with her. So we had people coming up to our booth that morning saying, "I saw you on TV. I love the fabric. I love the products you've made with it. Where's your store?" I didn't have a store. I had made a rudimentary website, and we had all the things that were in that booth, that 10 by 10 booth. And my husband and both of my kids, who are now in their mid to early to mid 20s, then they were late teens, early 20s. It was totally just us in the booth, sold out in those 2 days, and then did another market and another market. And then at that point, people really were saying, "Where's your shop?" And I noticed people buy things made out of fabric, and fabrics when they see them in person, when they can touch them, feel them. And so I was like, we need to get these in front of people. And then they will go to your website later to buy it and whatnot. So really thought really hard and prayed a lot about it. Are we ready to open a retail business? I had 4 criteria for that first little store in Tallahassee that we opened. One was that it needed to be visible from a main road. And this is all stuff I made up myself.
I love this. I love, because your story is it's so many other, like, here's a product, here's a, let's start with a booth or a market or whatever. And it's like, so I can go for it. I can't wait to hear what your fourth is. It's so funny.
Yeah. I actually went and looked for a book called Opening a Brick and Mortar for Dummies or whatever.
Oh, no.
And there weren't any. So I was like, okay, let's just do this. So it was, needed to be in a good location, visible from a main road.
Right.
Needed to be small so that I could merchandise it easily, and needed to be inexpensive enough that it wasn't going to give me a heart attack signing a lease.
Yep.
And so this sounds impossible, doesn't it? And either it was already cute or could be made cute. Well, my husband said, "Hey, there's that location at da 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 da.
Right.
I really think you should consider it." So we went and looked. And it met all the criteria. We made it cute. It wasn't already cute. We made it cute. But signed the lease, actually got them down to a 1-year lease just in case we didn't want to do this forever, and opened our little shop in September of 2017. And then quickly started outgrowing it within the next few months. We didn't just do our own products either. So our whole motif is English at heart with a Southern soul and a French twist. So it's all my heritage and my decorating style. Toile is French too. So, and kind of evokes that English countryside and all that. But we also did bring in products from England, from France, and then local artists and artisans as well, and from all throughout the Southeast United States too. People we'd seen, from our travels and things like that. So we opened with all that, and we're doing great. And we had kind of a 3-year plan to move to where we are now. Our town where we are now, that we have actually moved ourselves and our shop to, is called Thomasville, Georgia. It's about 30 minutes north of Tallahassee. Both of the cities are right on either side of the Florida-Georgia line. So we're in the same region. It's called the Red Hills region here, and it's a beautiful part of the country. So we had kind of a 3-year plan. Wouldn't it be neat to move to Thomasville? Because it's a shopping and dining destination, historic town and everything. And honestly, one day when my daughter was working at our little shop in Tallahassee, and by the way, she helped me start the whole business too. She had graduated from Florida State University with her degree in art history and museum studies, had done it in 3 years, and was almost like a gap year for her, that I said, "Hey, starting this business, why don't you help me?" So we were in our
mama.
Yes. And she actually, it was wonderful. And it was such a neat memory to go back and think about that time in our studio there at our old house and everything, and that little first shop and stuff. And then she went off and spread her wings, did some things that, with her degree and everything, worked at Biltmore State in North Carolina. She's now back working with us full time. She was right when I needed her. I asked her and she's ready to come back. So that's later on. But so where am I? Oh yeah, Thomasville. So, but it was kind of in our minds that would be the ultimate goal. Well, we did it in 9 months, not 3 years. So we found one day we'd actually gone to the French Country Flea Market as shoppers, not vendors, while my daughter worked the shop. And my husband and I then afterwards came up to Thomasville, went to lunch, walked out of the coffee shop, turned right, and there was a for rent sign in the space where we are now. And it had been a shop I'd been going to for years, that space, and it's beautiful and I loved it. And I actually had to sit down on the bench outside and put my head between my knees because I almost fainted.
I will say, like, we will share links to your shop, but your shop is stunning. It is beautiful. And I can see why you fell in love. The exterior, the whole thing. I mean, your interior is beautiful as well, too.
Yeah. Beautiful display windows out front and the original wood floors, the tin ceilings, everything. So we moved to Thomasville, and it's actually about 4 times as big as my little shop in Tallahassee. We decided to go ahead and move the whole thing. A lot of people asked, did we keep our store down there? But honestly, this town pulls from the entire area. I see as many people from Tallahassee here as I did down in Tallahassee. So it's just a great location for us. And we opened that it's been 3 years now that we've been here in this location, and we moved ourselves up here as well. So
right. Yeah, that's
we're right near it. Yeah.
So one thing, that's crazy fast growth. I mean, you saw the need, you knew there was a need, but your journey is so, well, it's inspiring, but it's a common story that I hear, no major retail, you didn't buy like a big retail, I thought it was hilarious when you said, we're looking for, opening brick and mortar for dummies, so
yeah.
Just so people know, I do now have
yes, I didn't know you yet.
I know. We do have an entire class now, a whole done for you workshop now that you can buy. And it's like, how to open a business, because I saw that need as well too, because I couldn't find it either so your journey as far as, just sort of filling the needs that you saw. I mean, it's a hobby. It's really our hobby and our passion. I always say passion to business, right? Or hobby to business, because, a hobby sounds too like whatever, but like you were so passionate about this, and you had all these things come together, right? You're the person that you were collaborating and working with, your paint by numbers and all of these things, like all these ideas. And I love, and I want to come back to where you said, sometimes we have to step away, like you were in England, you know what I mean? Like we have to have like a whole change of perspective, or, it can be just leaving, the job you're in, or it could be, going to England, or it could be going to the beach for 3 days and just thinking and thinking and making space for those ideas, and making space for things and thoughts to come, and being very brave to follow through with them. And it's brave. And everybody listening right now, everybody's so brave, because if you're running a shop, or if you're thinking about running a shop, you have to have that brave, you have to have your brave pants on, right? There's no guarantee. There's no, even if you did have the business for dummies or whatever it is, there's no checklist. I recently had somebody say, I want the formula or the list, to make it success. There's not, right? There's a lot of there's so many balls, there's so many things, location. I loved the 4 things that you did. That was very, very smart. You guys aren't, neither one of you have, and I say neither one of you, because I know your husband was very involved in helping, I know he doesn't work in like day to day or whatever, but obviously, and that's very common as well too. We have our partners or, family, helping us and supporting us through these moves, because we can't do it alone. Those are you've heard me say, I say this regularly, that's our board of directors, right? The people sitting at our kitchen table, they're invested in that as much as we are. So I love your journey. I love that and I love what you're doing. And I think there was a need, and obviously there was. And so then you expand and grow. You've got this big shop that you're running. And, you and I've had a lot of conversations, and I mentioned earlier, our first interaction, I don't know how you went to finding my course or whatever, but our first interaction was when Amy joined my course called Retail Made Simple. It's a 4-week like deep dive into business, because you were doing really well. Your customer base was good, your clients, everything forward facing, if I may say, was beautiful and working. Would that be a good thing to say? Yeah. So what was the struggle? Like, let's talk about the struggles that happened with this massive growth, or not struggles, but like the tensions or whatever that were happening. I'll share a little story about some of the emails you sent. I was just like, oh, Amy, I just love you. You're just so, she's a doer. Just so everybody listening, obviously, again, having that courage to move forward and keep moving forward and seeing you're very vision orientated. Like, what you want, what you like, your shop is very like, um, it's just beautiful. And it's also, what you want to show and how you want to show it and what you want people to buy and, how you want them to interact in your store. Very vision forward, very forward facing, very beautiful. But where was the tension in your business at that point in time?
Okay, so that was last September. I think it was
that last September? Was that only a year ago?
That was only
Holy, okay. So
yes.
Let's talk about in the middle of a pandemic as well, too.
It was in the middle of the pandemic. So we built the business to where it was, rocking and rolling. And I designed by the way, I wanted to say I designed a toile for Thomasville as well. And that's actually how I was able to meet so many people here when we moved here. They were so welcoming and so excited about that idea. And I got all their input for each image that was going to be on that. Okay. If people don't know what a toile is, it has images on it. It's a fabric with images. But anyway,
thank you. No, let's pause that tension and go to. You did build an incredible community. Again, your shop was doing really well. It was really busy, and the collaborations that you made in your community. You've shared with me a lot of, just hosting things and being involved in your community. Super important. I love to you are really involved. Correct? Yeah.
Yes. What I love sometimes is when it's a quiet moment in the store, I'm kind of looking around and every single thing in the store reminds me of someone. Sorry, I almost cried.
That's really nice. Almost cried. That's really nice.
The friendships that have been built through our business. It is incredible when I really look at that community. And we're actually talking about, we need to get all these people together for one big party. So I think it was, Rockefeller that said, I'd rather have friendships built on business than a business built on friendship.
Oh, wow.
Like
Yeah.
Not that the other is bad, but when you are doing business with someone and you're collaborating on things, it's all those creativity and everything that comes together. And then you have that, if there's trust built there, and it's just been incredible over the years, the friendships that have been made. So to get back to your question about that tension from last September, we were in the middle of the pandemic. And like you said, my husband, he's the CEO of 3 other companies, 3 organizations in Tallahassee right now. So we're both working through the pandemic. I was so blessed that we had already built a website, that we already had the paint line that we sell. We were already an authorized online retailer for them because everyone started painting during the pandemic. So we're busy shipping paint all over the country, doing all this stuff, keeping the website up to date, filming Facebook videos and really trying to get people to feel like they were shopping in our store while they were at home. And, I'm taking paint swatches out to cars to have people pick their paint, run back in and get the paint, all that stuff. So it was busy. And then somewhere in September, I think my head popped up out of the ground and it was wait, what are we doing? At the beginning of 2020, my daughter, Maddie, and I had sat down and we have this big whiteboard up in our office in the shop. And it still has the same things written on it from a year and a half ago because I now have a different way of planning because of you. But we had a big whiteboard and we were we kind of had made annual goals, but not organized them by quarter or anything like that. It was just a vision board kind of. And I went back and I looked at that and I'm we haven't done any of the things that we thought we were going to do in 2020. And it's kind of just that, I think it's kind of when you just stop and look around, you're oh, wait, this isn't what I envisioned for my business for this year, but we were doing well. 2020 was actually a really good year for us revenue wise and whatnot.
Well, but a lot of us get busy. We can make a profit and be busy and making, there's money in the bank. There's money in the bank. We're making money, but the business is good. But are we fulfilling our vision? I think that's where, where are we going with this? We're just busy being busy. We're reacting. I believe that you were in a very reactive, not proactive phase, exactly. Right? You were just doing. And that just, and I'm not saying just doing that. That's just what happens to a lot of us, especially last year. Last year was just,
what's next?
Yeah, I actually love the analogy. You said, okay, my head popped up and I started looking around. It's take a breath and look around and what are we doing? So yeah, I do. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that is I don't want you to beat yourself up, but that's just a really common thing that especially as the growth and like it got really busy. I know that, you had a good year last year with, a lot of retailers had a great year with the online, but it's like, oh, all right.
Okay.
It's like,
Yeah.
what
Are
are we
we just
doing?
going to
Yeah.
keep going like this or
Right.
what? Yeah. So, I mean, and we knew life was going to, change a little bit too as things opened up and whatnot. So I actually was in the midst of doing something really boring that, as we know, we all have to do. I always thought, oh, eating the vegetables before the dessert. And I was having to figure out a new point of sale system that synced with my website and all that stuff. So I have another friend that owns a shop in Tallahassee, different friend who owns a different shop, who has been a mentor for me as well. And she had gone on the same journey with me with our websites and our point of sale system. So I said, hey, do you have this point of sale system? And she said, yes, I've got it in my shop. Would you like to come in and see it in action? And I said, sure. So I went down there. I was chatting with her. Long story to tell you very shortly how I found you. She listens to your podcast, and she's in your follows you on Facebook and whatnot. And she said, listen, you really, as we were chatting about the point of sale system and about kind of where we were in our businesses and what was going on. And she said, you really need to start listening to Wendy Batten. And yeah.
I didn't know this. Anyway, yes. Okay.
And she said she has a different type of creative business. She doesn't sell a paint line. She doesn't do workshops and things like that. And she said, I get a lot from her, but I think you fit her. Like, you guys speak the same language. You and Wendy speak the same language. And I said, I certainly. So I came, like, literally that day, came home, and you were signing people up for your Retail Made Simple course. And I signed up, and the rest is history, because it just was life-changing for me. Going through that course, I'd like to do it again too. And I think it's important, like, if I had taken your course back when I was looking, like, not knowing at the beginning of my business, now I had things to attach what you were teaching us to. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, no, absolutely. We don't know what we don't know, and then we can learn. But yeah, so I've taken courses I have retailers that have taken Retail Made Simple several times. Like, they come through it every time, because we're always at a different level too, right? So we glean things from information that we learn. Like, we can learn the basics this round, but like, I'm not ready for this yet, or, like, I don't have a POS system yet, or I don't have reports, or I don't have, whatever it might be. So I totally understand what you mean. And I can see you taking, I have to tell a story though. Like, when you started, I didn't know you. A lot of people that come into my world, I've had some kind of interaction with, and, either just on Facebook or whatever. And all of a sudden this Amy girl just joins, and I'm welcoming everybody. And I think on day one, I get this email from you. And I still have it. I actually, behind me, I have a bulletin board. And this sounds dorky. I'm a kind of a dork that way, but it's all like little, maybe things that people have sent me, or thank you notes, or just, it's a reminders to me that of, the things that we're doing and the things that I'm helping to build and do, and to keep going. I guess we all need one of those, right? And one of your emails is back there on that board, because it's so cute. It was so, I think, like, I don't even remember, like, you just said, I have to just tell you this. It's like, I have like learned so much. I can't remember the exact wording. I should have brought it out. So I should have shared it here, but it's so, I'll try to share it maybe in the podcast. It was like just the one-liner or whatever that you had said. It's like, my mind is blown. And I hope, and then I think you sent me like 4 or 5 emails, like, right in a row after every course.
Yes,
and I was
like,
I was sharing with you earlier that, I'm so proud of being able to help that, because I didn't have that when I was growing my business. I didn't have anybody to. That's why that's why I created Retail Made Simple. That's why I created the Retailers Inner Circle, because I want to be able to handhold with people and help them build their business, because we can have so many wonderful things happening on the front end, right? Like you did. I mean, you were doing amazing. You are still doing amazing. Everything's amazing. But when we have the support on the back end, and that's what I wanted to help create for you. And that's where I've seen such a big shift. So like, you took the 4-week course, and I like the whole, like, Amy's like one of those students that was like, she's like, I'm showing up for every live. You even showed up for a live from your hairdresser's. Yes. So it's so funny. Like, for the live coaching, you're like, I'm not missing it. And my hairdresser's on board because I got you your pods in. And one of the funniest things that I've never forgotten, and I share this a lot, I share all the time about marketing, and I always say, you want to be the go-to for twall, or you want to be the go-to for, whatever it is. And I always say, you want the hairdressers talking about you and sending people to you. And you're literally sitting in your hairdresser's chair, and you said to me, my hairdresser sends all kinds of people to me. It's like, this is the epitome of, getting the hairdressers to talk about you from a marketing point of view. I think that's amazing. It was just so, I don't know, just, you touched my heart as well, watching you implement. But let's move forward to that. So some of the things after this 4-week course, and not only that, I saw some shifts in, you started to really take your business. You put your CEO hat on, as we say.
Yes.
So the front of house was beautiful. There was really no issues. Your marketing, everything was going really well with that. The back of house, you weren't a planner as much, yet, right? You weren't really, like you said, you had a kind of a vision board, but not a plan to attack that vision. So we worked through that a lot in the Retail Made Simple and through all the other things. So I watched you become a quarterly planner, and it's so funny. You're like, I've got my goals. You also joined my mastermind group in November.
Yes.
I think you joined us in November, the Level Up Mastermind group in November. So, and again, that's a tight group of pretty impressive retailers in there working, but you did that. Yeah. So and one of the things, and I really want to touch on this, not quickly, but I just want to point out one of the biggest struggles in businesses like yours, and a lot of retailers like me. I was a prime, and I share this all the time. I was a one-woman show-ish, right? Like I say, one-woman show. I had some support, I had some help, but really Wendy's driving the show, right? It's my shop. It's my, I teach the workshops. I set the stage. I do the merchandising. I order the product, and that was your story as well. And you and I had there was a point in time where you had to sort of step away from your business for 6 weeks. I think you had to step away. So stepping away from and I think it's so funny. It's not funny. It's funny now looking back. One of your biggest fears was, yes, I have things under control on the back, right? You were really doing well with your CEO stuff and your planning and your organizing, but this letting go was really hard for you, right? If I can throw this at you and we can talk about this, I know, and I want to honor your time. I know we're running a little late, but I really want to talk about this. It's such a big thing for so many of us. So we can have our CEO hat on and our brain can say, I know I need to have help, because if we're going to grow these businesses, we cannot do it alone. We can, and then, so I have people say to me, well, I can get a bookkeeper and I can get a cleaner and I can but I'm not giving up control of the business. But you were forced to step away for about 6 weeks out of your shop, which is but this is the magic to me. This is magic because a lot of people would have to close their shop and you did not have to. You had support you had your family and some other employees that were close knit to you.
Yes.
But you'd never given them control before. I want to talk about this because I remember a conversation we had, and I just wanted to. I was not throwing you under the bus, but I want to be.
No, I would love. I actually would love to share that because that is something that was shifting, game changing for me, and still is. It was in January of this year, and I don't mind saying I had a planned surgery, and so. The good news is that I knew I was going to be away from the shop, and we planned it for after the holidays. And, January is typically the slowest month of the year and blah, blah, blah. So, but I had a call scheduled with Wendy, and I said, Wendy, help, because I'm a control freak. And I said, this is my baby. And you help me change what I call my business to. It's my passion, not my baby. Because other people can take care of it. It's not just mine. And it's also theirs. I mean, my kids actually do work in my business. My daughter works with me full time, and it is such a blessing.
Babies literally work in your baby shop.
Yes. So she's doing our
funny.
Graphic design and our website and all that. She's at the shop right now while I'm doing this. And our son, who is still a senior at Florida State, majoring in art, he has a line of products in our store, and he works in our store. And then his wonderful girlfriend was helping us as well. And they all stepped up to the plate while I was out on the sofa for 4 to 8, I think it was 6 weeks. But I remember you telling me it was the 2 words that got me through it were trust and gratitude. Trust and gratitude. And the trust part was so huge in let them make decisions. When new products come in, I don't need to tell them where to put them. I don't need to tell them what signage to put up. They already know how to put it in the system. And then the gratitude part is thank you for doing that, not nitpicking or anything like that. And they did a beautiful job. They're all wonderfully creative, intelligent adults that carried our business through. Now, they would text me when they had questions and things like that and kept me up to date on everything. But it was wonderful.
I thought it was amazing. And I'm sharing this, and I wanted to share this story because we can't be control freaks in our business. It will never grow. Like, it's so hard to be control freaks. If we learn to lead and we learn to teach and trust and be grateful that other people will help us, those two things are really big. I mean, we have to, they knew your business, and, so I was really moved actually at not how easy it was for you, but I remember we had a conversation and you're like, I haven't even been into the shop. I haven't even been tempted to go in the shop. I don't even know. Right. Because I think, we think, well, they're not going to merchandise it, or they're going to make the store dirty, or they're going to leave boxes out. No, they're not. We have to trust that they have learned and they know how we run our business. They're not going to be, well, I don't know. Nobody else can talk to the customers like I do. Well, yes, they can. Yeah, they can. So this is a big shift for a lot of retailers. And I hope people are listening to, and right now I can hear right now, they're like, well, that wouldn't happen for me. I mean, she's like, she had her kids, but that's not the same. I mean, we have trusted employees. If we lead well and we do trust our people that we are leading, this is, again, part of wearing that CEO hat that I watched you so beautifully over the last year do. So, I've been super impressed with watching how you've been planning and executing, and, changing things up in your business, making decisions based on profits and margins and joy, right? Going back to your roots. I think we've seen you go a lot back to your roots. It's been a good year. And I know we could talk about a million other things. I really want to honor your time. What's next for your business right now? What would you say? What's coming up for the Heart and Hare?
All right. So, and one other thing to go with what you were just saying, as you know, we just hired a new team member who I've known forever and has a lot of experience and is actually one of the artists that we carry in our shop. And while we were gone for a week to the mountains at the beginning of July, she ran the shop for me while I was gone, and I did not worry about it the whole time. So
that's huge. That is huge. Let's just talk about this, because in January, this woman that we're talking to right now, this Amy woman that was literally freaking out about, like, you were just like, how am I going to, I think it was almost like, I think you were hoping that I was going to help you learn how to control them from home, from your bed. I don't know. Like, that was sort of the conversation. You're like, how can I get them to do this? How should we close? Should we not open this? There was lots of that panic. I think panic would be a good word of, like, and again, the trust. So that was January. This is like August that we're recording this. And it's like, okay, look how far you've come. And now you left the shop to a stranger.
I was able to focus on the family and what we were doing there, which is another whole,
and you were able to
whole podcast.
Well, but you were able to go. Yeah. So we often talk about, we should do a podcast on how family affects our business, because really it's like a whole other thing. But anyway, life behind the counter, right, of all the other things that happen. Yes. But there's a lot going on for your business. Can you just share a little bit of touch on? I know I know there's a lot. So.
Yeah. So just in general, like I think I was telling Wendy before, like, we feel like we've gone full circle. We're kind of back to those roots. We're back to being creative again, now that we have space in our heads now that we're organized and have space in our heads to think about really what's next. What are our goals for, next quarter after that. So we're back to designing. I'm doing a lot of custom toiles and things like that. We just got our first wholesale order.
I cannot wait for you to share
one of our
this. Exciting. Yeah.
Yes. And we have an officially licensed collegiate twall that is in another store, and the whole licensing process could be another whole podcast as well. But my daughter is back into creating more things for us as well. And we're back into collaborating with other artists, getting our designs on ceramics with a local beautiful ceramicist. I just see a lot of things coming full circle right now, and we have we're focusing back on our designs and really filling our shop with those. So kind of back to our roots. We're really excited about it.
Right, I'm excited for you, and I want to just pull out of that again that these big things are happening because you've taken the time to pop out of that hole, have a look around, right?
Yeah.
And attached. I know that. I'm not, like, sometimes people say, oh, like, you're all about planning and stuff, but there are benefits and really big things happening when you do take time to decide, like, what do we want for our business? How do we want to get there? Is this profitable? What do we really truly want? And those are the things I've seen you action. Like, instead of just being busy and how can we make more money? And, which is great. I mean, now you're making money doing what you love. Like, we're making profits and we're being smart about it. We're doing margins and we're talking about, because I know we talk about this a lot in, you know, just finding your passion, but again, right back to your passion. And why did you open your shop in the first place? Not just to be busy making money and in the till and, like, which nobody listening needs to get. They can't get me wrong on this. We want to have customers. We want to do it with things that fill us up and, passionate about. And, again, keep doing your collaborations. You're doing so many things. You're being super intentional about your product lines right now. You're being super intentional about your goals. And I'm seeing all of this. I'm so proud of you. So I'm like proud mommy here. Like, no, but I do. And I have the pleasure of watching, again, because Amy's in my mastermind group and still working with you a lot. So I love it. I love seeing how things have come back to your original and I'm excited about your projects, back to your original passion, but yet still doing all the things, and your customers are still really happy and your collaborations are still really good. But reaching those milestones is fun, isn't it? Like those goals and seeing them come to fruition, and it's just really exciting instead of just being
really
busy.
Is.
Yeah, because we can all be busy. Yeah, and taking a week off to go to the mountains is pretty nice too, right? And
it is.
And the till's still coming. The stuff's still selling in the shop, and I know a lot of us, we'll just close the shop for a week, but getting that trust back as well too. So, okay, thank you so much. As we wrap up, though, before we go, I always ask my guests if there's something, advice that you could give another shop owner, maybe a quote, maybe share a habit or something that you would like to share with other retailers that would inspire them as we get ready to sign off.
I think sometimes it's so easy to get overwhelmed when you are making all those plans. And Wendy, you've been such a help to me, like breaking those down into steps, kind of working it backwards and whatnot. The saying that used to always come to my mind was, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. But I don't really like the idea of eating an elephant, so I changed it.
Good, yeah.
So my husband and I, sometimes when we get a spare moment or two, we like to, take our bikes and go riding through the hills and the woods and things like that. And, when you're going up that big, long hill, it's literally one pedal push at a time. And that's going to get you up that hill. So you just really need to focus on breaking down those steps, know that you're going in the right direction, that you're going up that hill.
Yeah.
But knowing that, what do I need to get done today? That's going to get me closer. And then you're not going to get so overwhelmed. Sometimes when you're saying doing all the things, I know we say that a lot.
Yeah.
What do I need to do today? What are and Wendy really has helped all along with that for me getting that.
I'm a big teacher of, and thank you. I'm glad that that's working for you. I do see that working for you, because really, what's the next step, right? I'm a big believer in reverse engineering is the word we use all the time. Yeah. We do that for a lot of things, reverse engineering all the steps, and then just take the next step. And the next step. And every day we make progress, right? We, people that think they're going to leap and bound to having this wholesale line, you just said, that doesn't happen without the steps.
It does not happen overnight. Yeah.
Every step has to be crossed off too. So I know, like, you've also, I'm a big believer in habits and habits, and I've seen you really put a lot of, business habits on, and, it's just, though that's a good habit to have, like, in your head all the time, every, reverse engineering. And anything else you want to share with us before we sign off?
Oh, I was thinking about another bit of advice, kind of like all the squirrels that are running by too. Yeah. And
the squirrels. We all have the squirrels running around in our head. Yes.
Are endless with what you can do. And it's really making a decision of, this is what I am going to do. I think you said, like, there's an idea parking garage or something like.
Yeah, idea parking lot is one of my favorite things. That's where I store all those squirrel brained ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let me think about it, and maybe we'll do that in the future. And it's okay to tell someone, let me think about it. I painted myself into a lot of corners early on when I'd be meeting with someone and agree right there to do something or about this little aspect of whatever. And I've learned, and I'm still learning, that it's okay to say, hey, that's a great idea. Let me think about it and get back to you, so that you really can think things through before you And that's only fair to you and to the person or entity that you're dealing with. So
right. Yeah. One of the big things for me, and I've seen you do this, and I've seen a lot of other members do this as well. That is why I plan out 90-day goals and visions, because then it's easier to make decisions on yes or no. Because if we already know our goals and what our bandwidth and how much time we have and how much money we want to make and how we want to do it over the next quarter, when a harebrained idea either pops in our head or somebody, throws an opportunities can be great, but it's easier to say, it's nice to be able to say yes, because that works in my plan. I have the time, I can do that. Or no, it just doesn't fit into this 90-day window, or, it doesn't fit in, but you know what, that's a great idea. Let's talk about that later. That's conversations I have in my own head too. Like, that's a great idea, Wendy. Let's do that. Yes. Next quarter, or let's do that, because right now we are booked up. And again, going into fourth quarter, right now, as we're talking, we need to really be good about saying yes and no. So thank you for bringing that up. That is such great advice. So thank you so much for joining us today. I know that you've inspired so many retailers. Your journey is not unlike others, but yet everybody's unique. We do all kinds of unique things. And it's so inspiring to see how the Hare and the Heart and how Amy Hart has just grown and expanded over the last few 8 years. How many years have you been in? So you opened originally in 2016, right?
It's 5 years now.
So look at you growing and expanding, and then just leveling up all the time, right? So leveling up and getting that CEO hat on. It's been such a pleasure to watch you do that. So thank you so much for joining us, Amy.
Thank you, Wendy.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Creative Shop Talk podcast. I'm so glad that you were here to join us this week, and I hope you found value in what we're sharing here. I want to remind you that our website has all of the show notes. You can find it at wendybatten.com/podcast. Everything that you need to hear about today's podcast is there. Also an opportunity if you need to reach out to me. If I can support you in any way whatsoever, please feel free to reach out. Make sure you join our Rockstar Creatives Facebook group. We will continue the conversation over there weekly. So thanks for joining us. Please leave a review, subscribe if you can, and never miss an episode. We hope to see you back here again next week. Thanks, my friend. Have a great week.